Okay, there we go. So good evening, everyone. This is the awkward part where we're live, but there's no one actually here yet. So I just have to pad this bit out a little bit. Tim's going to share a link as to where this is actually going live in just a second. And then we can get going. Here we go. All right. Okay, so Tim set up a link. We are... There we go. All right. So I've got to remember how to do this with two screens. Good. There we go. Nice. Okay, so we are getting people joining us as we speak. There's a few people. So I can already see there's a few people who've joined us. So if, as we like to do every time when we do a creative exchange, if you've already logged in and you're watching, if you could just on the right-hand side on the chat, add where you are watching from tonight, this evening, this morning, or it could be midnight, as in the case of Pacha, who's at a wedding at midnight in Bali. So I can already see Nej. I always get your name wrong, Nej. I apologize. Matthias. So I assume, okay, here we go. Denmark, Vancouver Island, Allison, Ercera, Lisbon, Portugal, Washington, D.C., Florida, Prague, Portugal, Italy. Yes, this is amazing. Chamonix, Chile, Munich, sunny Florida. I love to hear that. Norway, Vancouver, Ercera. We've got half of Ercera watching tonight, which is a worry because the internet, the electricity in this town is quite basic. Not at any point, there's definitely the problem. Austria, Amsterdam, Munich, UK, amazing. Thank you all for joining us. I will see how many people keep jumping in here. It's great to have everyone. So if you're joining us now, just jump into the comments, let us know where you're watching from. This is volume 26 of Creative Exchange from DB. We've done these, we try to do these every month. We try to do them either in person. So there's a bunch of crew here from Bergen in Norway. We did one recently there. We did one in Manchester in the UK a little while ago. And we do them online every month. Every time they are about a different subject area. So sometimes it's around how to get paid as a freelance creative, how to be a photographer. We had one with Gimbal God and the creative director at GoPro, how to use the latest GoPro. For this evening's, we wanted to have a creative exchange focused on building creative careers, especially for women. So to do that, we've assembled a great cast here for you. But I thought it probably wouldn't be very useful of me presenting this. So I thought, who could I get to come and host this episode for us? And I brought in Emilie. So Emilie is a friend of mine from Ercera. She's originally from Denmark. You can say more about yourself, Emilie. But if I think about people who've built themselves really interesting, wonderful careers, Emilie would be at the top of that list. Emilie was working for a brand in Denmark called, Emilie, what was it called?
Be Copenhagen.
Okay, quite imaginatively, Be Copenhagen, yes. And she was sort of thinking like, oh, what else might I want to do with my career? And through some mutual friends, someone said, hey, do you know anyone who might be able to do some live event reporting at the WSL event or some social media content at WSL event in Ercera? So we connected Emilie to that person, Wes, one of our employees over here. And from that moment on, she sort of took on one thing, the next. She ended up doing a TED Talk, which was quite amazing, which you can see on YouTube. She went off to work with Red Bull on all of their surfing content. She's I'm going to butcher what your job title is, but she's working at HBO on the 100-Foot Wave documentary, et cetera, et cetera. And so she's going to lead you through this evening. But Emilie, maybe before you start, you just give a little bit of an overview about who you are, what you do, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll wish you all a lovely evening. I'm going to jump off and watch from the background.
Thank you so much, John.
Bye.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. And yeah, just to give a few words about me, I think John covered it pretty good. But yeah, as I said, I'm working a lot with sports, a lot in the surf industry, with Red Bull, with HBO and 100-foot wave. Then I also work with some athletes, helping them with personal branding and kind of storytelling. And then I also, yeah, as John said, I gave a TED talk. I do some speaking. And but yeah, I'm really passionate about storytelling and athletes and branding and how you can kind of create a career for yourself and create these opportunities for yourself. So I'm really excited to hear all of you guys' stories. And since today we're talking about passion and we're talking about career, so I thought it would be nice if we just do a little around the table where you all can tell a little bit about yourself and a bit about your passion, and then we can get into it there and how you managed to create a career around that passion. So I don't know if you want to start, Pacha.
Amazing. Oh, thank you guys again. What an amazing group of powerful women here. Honored to be a part of the crew chatting. Yeah, so my name is Pacha Luque Light, and I'm an Australian Ecuadorian free surfer. And yeah, my passion is everything to do with how surfing can be the greatest connector and bridging over those different stories and how that love for the ocean crosses language and countries and different boundaries and different, people's backgrounds. So that's just what fascinates me and has always fascinated me when I started surfing. And I'm so lucky that I am still doing it for a living. It's wild to me, but very grateful. Yeah.
Good. Thanks, Pacha. Hayden, maybe you can say a few words next.
Yeah, my name is Hayden. I'm Canadian. The last 12 years I lived in Whistler, BC, but I recently just moved to Squamish. So I don't know if we have any people from the Sea of Sky on here, but that's where I'm living now. I am a movement instructor. My training is in Pilates, but I love teaching functional movement. I started teaching 3 years ago, and it was a passion of mine beforehand. Like, I took classes and I just really, really loved this type of movement. And I knew that more people in Canada needed to be doing it. So I started a business. My business is called the Peach Club. It's an online fitness business. I teach online classes, and we have a wonderful community, mostly of women, but we have some guys on there too, which is so fun. I absolutely love Pilates. I love functional movement. I think it's so great if you're in sport, if you're recovering, if you're trying to stay healthy and fit and not injured. It's a great type of movement. So that is what I do. I'm just trying to connect more people with this type of movement around the world. And it's been going really, really well, way better than I ever expected. And super happy to be doing it in Canada mostly, but trying to branch out to the rest of the world. And I just love it so much.
Well, that's amazing. And maybe we can jump, and thanks, Aiden. Maybe we can jump to Sarah next.
Yeah, sure. I'm Sarah. I am a professional skateboarder and also a photographer. And I've been skateboarding for, I think, 22 years now, but I've been living off of it the past 9 years, I think. So it's something that's come quite naturally with the industry picking up women skateboarding. And I love all of it. I love both of it. It's really nice to be here.
Nice. Thanks, Sarah. And Malou?
Hi, my name is Malou. I'm from Sweden, but I live in California. I'm a backcountry skier, and I also do a lot of photo and video producing. And I have my own brand called Arctic Mountain Club, where I make hoodies and guides and beanies. And yeah, I do a lot of different things, but everything kind of stems from the love of travel and being in the mountains and nature.
Thank you. And Violeta?
Hello, everyone. My name is Violeta. I'm from Spain. I've been surfing all my life because all my family surfs, and I've been competing on surfing since I'm 10 years old. But then 2 years ago, I realized I was not competitive person. I don't really enjoy competing, so I became a free surfer, and I'm in love with life that I cannot choose only one thing. So now I'm a little bit 360, like I'm free surfer, but also content creator and also a model. So my goal is just to enjoy what I do, be happy with it, and also be good at it.
Thank you so much, everybody. Well, super interesting to hear. Like, you all come from the background of sports and, you know, snowboarding, skiing, and surfing, but now, you know, having pivoting your career to fit that passion. And I think what I would like to ask next is how, when was a moment when you realized that, this is not just a hobby, or it's not just my sport, but I actually want to pursue it as, you know, my career, and you know, and make my passion into a career. I don't know if you can say a few words about that and how you got started on that. I think that could be really interesting. I don't know if you want to start again, Pacha.
Definitely. Sounds great. Yeah, no, I'm really, really like grateful. I kind of fell into surfing in such a special way. I started surfing in my little hometown of Iluka in a very, very rural, yeah, you know, like 100 kids at school sort of thing. And like me and my brother started surfing. We started going down to a local board riders club and using their surfboards. And it was time to get our own surfboards. And so pretty much I decided my mum couldn't afford a new board at the time. And so I was like, okay, what's a way I can be involved? So I started dancing and raised enough money, like busking. So at markets and stuff, I used to dance. I was like maybe 9 years old when I started and dancing, trying to raise enough money. And then one day at a WSL comp, then the ASP, at the Roxy Pro on the Gold Coast, I decided to dance. And then Laura Annabelle came past and she danced with me and then gave me one of her surfboards. And so, like, from that day, I was, had just turned 9. I realized that I not only, could fall in love with surfing in such a generous and, like, such a beautiful way, is that I also had a story. And down the line, as Laura started writing for Billabong, I just kept surfing every day. I loved it so much. And I realized, I think it was maybe 13 or 14, and I was just, still working with her and still surfing with her as much as I could, and just being around the contests that she would be on, just looking up to her in every way. Billabong then picked me up, and I realized that we had this connection, we had this way to share this story, and that continued into a kind of career. And it pretty much, from looking up to her, I ended up fully putting my head into competitive surfing. And I was like fortunate enough to be supporting my family and leaving school at the age of 16 and just kind of went fully into it. And then I guess always just because of the way I started, I really wanted to share that with younger girls, but also see how surfing could fit in a bigger picture. And so I used to do try to produce kind of some short films. I guess maybe like 17, I started doing Women of the Sea. Um, you know, uh, Kind of like looking at the Ama and the Henyo women, the freedivers in Jeju Island and in Japan as well, looking at those role models and how women were involved in the ocean. And so there was just so many little connectors, and I realized that there was such a big opportunity to share that story. But I was really lucky. Like, I started when I was pretty young, and it was just like right place, right time, some sort of kind of serendipitous sort of moment meant that I could turn this passion into my purpose in living. And but that started when I was pretty young, so I've been doing it for like maybe 8-9 years now. But yeah.
Like, can I ask, so when you're saying like your career as a professional surfer, does, for example, because I think a lot of people would be interested in. Like, for example, does your way of living, does it come from like competition, sponsorships? Does it come from producing movies? Where does that come from?
Yes. So I think throughout my years of competing, it has kind of connected me with the right kind of people in industry and understanding the whole background of it. So I competed until I was 18. And then when I was 19, I kind of stopped. I decided to leave Billabong and kind of reshape the narrative as a free surfer. And from all those connectors from competitive surfing, it made the change over into kind of a bit more films, a bit more content, a bit more storytelling. It made that transition easier. So right now it's more in films, free surfing, and yeah, just slowly banking those content. So now it's like, yeah, changed form a little bit, but yeah, it kind of just all was a bit that stepping stone, and yeah, accepting that flow. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And Hayden, from you, I think it would be interesting to hear also, you know, coming from a skier background and going into Pilates, and then actually making, as you say, your Pilates into a successful business. Like, how did you do that?
Oh my gosh, it's like still such a mystery to me how it's even working, but I think it really is just like fueled by passion and belief in the product. I mean, I feel like I sell this all the time. I think Pilates is such a beautiful way to move your body. So good, again, for people who are injured or coming back from injury or like fully healthy. It doesn't really discriminate in that way. But yeah, I was a ski racer growing up until I was 18. And then I moved to Whistler. I've always loved to ski, but I like to be active in my off time in the summers, stay in shape. And I was traveling a lot, and I was trying to find things that I could add into like my travel, because usually when I was traveling, I didn't have like access to a gym. And I found an online Pilates platform that actually one of my friends ran. She used to live in Whistler, and then she moved to Australia, and it just kind of changed my life because there was no more like excuse not to be able to move my body. And I just was like really, really, really loving it. And I was introducing it to some of my friends, and they were like when I was in town back at home, or like when I was on the road, they're like, can we do like a workout together? And I was like, yeah, like let's do it. And we would do these workouts together. And then I realized, I was like, wow, more people need to know about this. Like more people need to move their bodies like this. It's so like, I was always like feeling so good after the workouts. And then I had this like aha moment when I was working a corporate job. Actually, I used to work at Lululemon. And I was like, I hate my job. Like, and I was like, I just want to like run my own life. And I was like, I wonder like if I could be that person who like brings this type of movement to like more people in my community. And so I quit my job, and then I got certified in Pilates, and I just started doing classes in my hometown of Whistler by donation. I was just like, I just want to get people in the door. Like they need to know about this. And people started coming, and it was like crazy. People were like, I like coming to 2 classes in a row. They were like, it started to like really, really snowball. And I think people started to catch on, and they were feeling good. Like, again, people with injury in the summer were still coming. I had like people sometimes with like their arms in braces. They're like, I'm just coming for the legs portion. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And then for other parts of my job, I was traveling, so I couldn't always be in Whistler. And some of the girls were like, will you film a class and just put it on YouTube so I can do it when you're away? And I was like, oh, like there's so many options out there. There's no way that like you need another one. And I just kept getting asked. And then I decided to do it, and it went really well. And then, yeah, it just kind of snowballed, and I was like, I could really do this. I thought the market was maybe a bit oversaturated after COVID, but yeah, don't let anybody tell you anything. If you're passionate about something and you want to work hard and it can compound over time, I think you can really make anything your job. And yeah, it's been going really well. And I just am so happy that more people have access to this. Sorry about that. This type of movement. So that's...
So your online business started with YouTube videos, and then you build your own platform after that.
Yeah, I started with little videos, and then I did like a 6-pack of workouts. I just like filmed 6. I was so nervous. I never like wanted to speak on camera. I was like, this feels so indulgent. I like rented a little dance studio in my hometown. It was like not what I cared about, like not what I wanted the aesthetic to be, but I was like, you know what? I have to start somewhere. And the girls in my classes, they say that they want these workouts. So I ended up launching 6 classes. It was like $20 for a pack of 6 classes that they could access online for 4 months. And yeah, I had like way more sales than I ever could have imagined. And I took all that capital that I made then and decided that by January 1st that year, this was in September, by January 1st that year, I'd take all that money that I made from those 6 classes and launch my own platform. So I got like a branding agent. I just like filmed like 4 or 5 times a week and had all these classes, and yeah, it just kind of like snowballed over time. But it kind of was a little bit of a shot in the dark, but I had some really cool supportive like community within my hometown, and that's what really launched it all.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, maybe we jump down to Sarah, and you can tell us a little bit about how you managed to build your career, and also both in skateboarding and your photography.
Yeah, basically it's gone quite a natural way from that. I've just been doing it a lot. Like I started skating when I was around 13, and then I just became really obsessed with it. And yeah, it's something I just did with friends really. And then around when I was 16, they actually opened up like the skateboarding high school in Malmo. So it was really natural for me to go there, and that's like you're not studying skateboarding, but you're skating at school. And I think I skated so much those 3 years there, and like I had sponsors for a long time. Like I think I had my first sponsor from the local skate shop when I was like 14. But there was no real like industry. Wasn't that many women that were sponsored back then, so I was just really doing it, like doing what I loved. I did some type of competitions like in the beginning because it was the only way to travel really, and I really didn't like competing. It was just it made me really nervous, and I decided to stop doing that like pretty early on and just focus on filming street and being in magazines. And I just went on and did that, but I had jobs on the sides and traveled a lot. I feel like I really got to know like the skate community of the world by just skating and traveling. And then photography was also like by my side pretty much from when I was 16. Something I did, and it grew naturally into something that I later on wanted to study. So I studied it when I was 24. I took like this art class photography course for a year, and that expanded into me like looking at photography from a different perspective, like learning how to express myself in other ways, and just like I guess I felt a bit stuck in being like just a skater, and it really helped me to continue on a different path with photography too. And then I took that on. I studied at a fine art school, fine art photography for 3 years, and then I've just been like combining skateboarding, photography. It's grown pretty organically from like it just been doing it a lot. Yeah, and I probably am not so good at building a business. I think I need to learn from you guys. I'm like I just kind of do what I do, and then I don't know. If any opportunities comes up, I've definitely taken them. Like, and it's really amazing for me to see other female skaters like come up and like see skating change in that way. And I feel like that's something I've also tried to shoot and trying to showcase. And it's a part of the purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing. And let's go to Malou. And Malou, maybe you can tell a little bit about, like, yeah, again, you're a skier, but you also started your own business, and like how that came about, and how you started, how you got into that, and and maybe you can tell a little bit about the first steps.
Yeah, so I had a pretty similar experience to Pasha. I think just having female role models that are in your field and seeing what they've been doing, and they like brought you under your wings and showing the way, that has for me been super, super helpful. And I've always been very like, I love creating things. When I was 18, I had a travel hammock brand that I was like producing in Indonesia because I was going there a lot in the summers, but I made like zero money off this. I probably lost a shit ton of money on that hammock business, but I've always been like, I don't think too much beforehand. I just go and I encounter a million problems, and some of them I can solve, some of them I cannot, and a lot of things has not succeeded. And then I was actually waiting for my US visa. So I was stuck in Sweden. I was kind of super sad, not stoked on life, and I just needed to focus on something to keep my mind off like being stuck in Sweden. So then I love Japan. I love to travel, and I've always wanted to create a brand that like gives a little love back to places that I love and that gives me a lot of inspiration. And for me, that is Japan and the Arctic. And so I started Arctic Mountain Club, where I make, it's nothing like special. I make like hoodies, I make t-shirts, I make long sleeves, and I make beanies. And I also make travel guides to make it easier for people to visit new places, but to do so with respect of the place and like not try to, because these days with social media and stuff, I think sometimes it can be do a lot of harm to a lot of places, but I think you can point people in the direction of a good time, but to do it respectfully to the place as well. And I think that is important. So that's why I wanted to make the travel guides. And yeah.
Amazing. And how's the business going now? Is it growing, and how long have you been doing it?
I've been doing it for 2 years. And I kind of also started like Hayden, like I started with like one batch of things, and I was like, okay, whatever money I make from this, I will take all of that money and just reinvest it and see how, and just pretty much all the money I make from it, I just reinvest into it. And that has helped a lot, and now it's going pretty well. I was telling myself, like, if this makes enough money, like one of my good ski sponsor contracts, then it's like worthwhile doing, because obviously it's a lot more work than, it's a lot of work to work with sponsors as well, but to run it and do the whole process yourself takes a lot of time. And it's doing that for now, so it's super fun. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just trying new things and then kind of see how it goes.
But I guess you said you started with a hammock business and you did some mistakes and stuff. But some of the mistakes you did there, is that some learnings you've taken from that and what you're doing now?
Oh yeah, 100%. But I also repeat my own mistakes all the time. And I do that in my ski stuff too. I'm like, will you ever learn? But then hopefully one day I will. If I do them enough, probably one day I will learn.
Yeah.
But I think you can't be afraid of like making mistakes or like making no money, because like these days you can start a business with pretty much no money, which is insane. And it's like a pretty unique opportunity that hasn't really, like, it hasn't been that way ever. So I think it's pretty cool you can do now without taking too much risk.
Yeah, exactly. No, thank you so much for sharing. And all right, let's go to Violeta. Maybe you can say a little bit about you after you said you stopped competing. So now you're focusing more on content creation. Maybe like talk a bit about like your personal brand and how you made a business out of that.
Yeah, so as I told you before, I've been surfing since all my life because like all my family surf and I had no choice. Yeah, like I had to surf and I liked it. So since I had like 6 years old, I started surfing for fun. And then at the age of 10, I started like competing in national competitions. And then in the age of 14, I won the championship of Spain. And then I was like, oh, maybe maybe I'm good at this. Maybe I can live from this. And then also, like at the same time, Instagram was starting at that year, so I was like putting my creative part on Instagram, or like putting all my surf videos and the pictures and everything, my lifestyle there. So it was like competing and also posting on Instagram. And then I got my first sponsor. It was like a little brand from Spain. And yeah, like I was so motivated because at that age I was admiring all the surf girls like that were older than me, that had sponsors and everything. I just wanted to be that, like that was my dream. And I was, yes, I had a lot of passion and I wanted to be that girl. And then I was like, wow, I have my first sponsor. And then little by little, years passed. I got in O'Neill team, and then they were not paying nothing. But then little by little, I was like growing in the brand, and then like I got paid. I could consider surfing as a job, and then also I studied at university because I think it's important to enjoy the moment, but also have a plan B. So I studied marketing and advertising. And then things were good for me. I'm sponsored by Protest, and I can live from surfing, and I'm more focused in creating films, traveling around the world, creating content, and also mixing surfing with fashion because I like both, and I think both are compatible. And I'm just passionate about my job, passionate about life, and my advice would be that, like, to just believe in yourself and be passionate about what you do and about life, because all my family told me, no, Violeta, no, you're not gonna be able to live from surfing, no, no, no. And I was just believing in myself, and now I'm living from it. So that's it.
Amazing. But do you see more opportunities to live from that as well with how the new structure of like content creation and stuff like that, that you can work with more brands at the same time instead of like only be with one brand?
um Me, I prefer quality over quantity on brands. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a few sponsors and just like be 100% with them as family and creating content for them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Amazing. Thank you so much. And I think we also got a question in the chat from Matthias, and it's a little bit of what I actually wanted to talk about next. So, and which is like personal branding and how how much attention and attention you put into your own personal brand, because I think it's something like I've been working with athletes on the world tour, world champions who still struggle with how to create their personal brand, but also how to manage being an athlete and at the same time have time to shoot content, have time to, what should I post, how should I tell my story, and so on. So I think it can be a full-time job in itself, and you still have to focus on your business or on your sport. So maybe you can say a little bit about how you're going about creating your personal brand and how important that is to you. I don't know who want to start. Maybe you want to start this time, Hayden.
All right. Yeah, I mean, before I started in Pilates, like I was also doing like lots of content creation. My personal brand is very important to me. That's where I've like been able to find a lot of our now members. So I am constantly working at that, and it is a constant struggle because I want to focus so much of my time on my business, but I know that I'm also the face of my business, and if I'm not taking care of myself and I'm not like communicating, kind of the things that I want to, like, within my own personal brand, that's not really like helping the business. But yeah, it is a full-time job, both things. It's very, very time consuming, and I'm like quite meticulous about it. I'm like a bit of a perfectionist, which I feel like the way that content is going, people want to see like the insides of your life. They want to see like your everyday, which kind of gets like a little bit, I don't know, not like suffocating for me, but it's it can feel like a little bit intimidating, especially also like running two different things. But I saw a quote a few years ago. It might sound like a little bit cheesy, but it was, "No one is you, and that is your power." And I think if you're driven by passion and you really like are invested in the things that you're doing, and you are authentically yourself, and you're showing up online in the way that you want to, in the way that is actually you, and the things that you like, you're really like putting them out there, you're supporting other people in your field. I think that that's like, you can't really go wrong with that. If people want to pick it up, they will, and if they don't, they won't. But yeah, being intentional, and then also just like definitely being like personalizing your content to yourself is like super important, and being yourself is like super important. And that's the advice I would give. It's hard not to fall into these like trends, and like not to just like go with the wind on social media. But I think just showing up authentically as yourself online is the advice that I would give there. And being a little bit purposeful with your content, like making sure you're clear, your communication is good, when you're working with brands, you're like understanding what they're trying to like get across, but and that you're aligned, like Violeta said, like just having like alignment with the brands that you work with is really important. Making sure that you use the products that like you actually genuinely love, and use the products that you're promoting, whether you're an athlete or a content creator. I think that just authentically showing up online is the best thing you can do for your personal brand.
And do you have any preferred platforms?
Oh, I don't know if this is like millennial now, but I love Instagram. Like it is the GOAT for me. I like keeping up with my friends on there. TikTok obviously is like a lot more addictive. But I feel like I'm always like, I'm never seeing people in my own life, or people, it's just like feeding me these things. It's a lot, I'd say TikTok's more entertaining, but Instagram is definitely where I turn to, and where I put out most of my content.
Nice. And Pacha, maybe you can say a few words about that as well, and your personal brand, and how important that is for how you created your career.
No, I was really lucky. My mum, like, wasn't a surfer, but her favorite thing to do was to wake up at dawn, and so she would take me surfing. And so every day she would take a photo of me paddling out at the sunrise. And I was really lucky to kind of have that like very organic kind of access to content. And you know, I was like really young at that like time, and like 12 to like maybe 14, and we're just like, oh wow, how amazing would it be if a younger girl could see, you know, another young girl going out at sunrise every day. At that time, like, no, none of my friends at school would ever wake up that early or something like that, like just little things. And so from a pretty young age, and Instagram started being incorporated in the kind of surfing industry, and it was a way to share that story. It was like purposeful content was really important to me, and making sure that I was saying yes to opportunities that were driven by purpose and over profit. I think it was really hard in the beginning, with a lot of really like amazing opportunities. You know, even in the early days of Instagram, you know, the rates were still pretty good. Now it is pretty saturated, and there's an amazing market now, and I know a lot of people living from social media content creation. But it was important. It's really important to say no, and that power of saying no, and if something doesn't align, and like just finding another way, I think, then kind of saying yes to a million things, and not really having your kind of morals as strong. It's a really difficult one, because you know, as an athlete, there's so many friends of mine who have had to, you know, study or work really insane jobs while competing or while traveling to make this dream, you know, make the dream, you know, come true and live that. But yeah, so it's a kind of like the double side of it all. But yeah, I think it's an interesting juggle. But for myself now, it's just like trying to just keep doing that check-in with yourself of whether something, if a project is working out or you're finding passions are kind of shifting. I don't know. I do love TikTok in terms of bringing that little bit of realness. I feel like Instagram's gone really curated, which is so lovely, and we can find so much art in that space. And same with TikTok. But like through COVID, through 2020, I was like that. My income was making memes for WSL. It was hilarious. It was so good. I would have to film like 3 videos a week where I would just think of like surfing memes on TikTok, and it was so much fun. And that little fun little kind of joyous moment that does that little connector and like bridged at that point with that algorithm connected so many people who had no idea about surfing or had like a little idea about surfing and brought them into you know, a different world. Yeah, I felt like that was really fascinating for me to observe. But yeah. Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing those insights. And now I was thinking, Malou, maybe you can say a little bit about, you know, like how do you structure like working on your personal brand? You have a big following on social media, so you have the strong personal brand, you have your brand, and you have your ski career as well. So how do you juggle all those things, and how do you know what to prioritize?
I mean, my Instagram is very, and my ski career goes very much together. And I started together with my friend Kaisa. We started a YouTube channel, like I think 7 years ago now. And looking back at some of those episodes now, I'm like, how did we put that out on the internet? But I'm also so happy that we did, because otherwise I probably wouldn't be sitting here today. And I think for me, like, my social media is very much me. I love photos, I love videos, I love music, I love creating little reels, I love like the photo carousels. I just love it, and even before it was my job, I did it. So I don't have a strategy. I don't have a plan. I just kind of do what I like, and my aesthetic and my what I like has changed throughout the years because we change as humans. But my brand is very me, and me is my brand in a way. So it kind of like goes hand in hand. And I think that's super cool with you, Hayden, because I've been following you for so long, and you were like in the ski space before. But I think if you really are true to yourself and your passions, like you say, it doesn't matter if you like shift completely. Now you do Pilates and you're killing it. But if you create something that's always genuine to you, like no matter what direction you take it in, I think it's gonna work. And that's what people like, you know, because they want the human in it, especially these days when there's like AI, there's so much like that's not real. People just want I think people want real and connection in no matter what. If it's sport, Pilates, fashion, social media, like anything like that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. And we actually also got like related to this, we got a question from Samuel who's asking what does brand look for when supporting athletes, the storytellers, and content creators? Maybe Sarah, I don't know if you'd be able to say a few words about that.
Yeah, well, I think they look for original people and some people who stands out really, and diversity. So it's really a lot about just showing yourself, showing who you are, and continuously doing it. And but yeah, what do they? I don't know. I don't have a brand, but that's what I feel like. If you look at the athletes brands pick up, it's definitely like, oh, this one has a lot of power, or like a lot of personality. Like it's all different ways to be seen, really, because that's what they want for their brand to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess it's also about the creator or the athlete to, really be true to their brand stories, because then the brands will find them because of that. And it's their story. I think it was Hayden who said that quote, and I think that ties into that.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I think something that I have to sometimes remind myself, and like I think as I'm getting older it's getting a little bit better, but just having like a little bit more self-worth. And when a brand like approaches you, like, I mean, at the end of the day the brand is trying to sell products for their business, but they're trying to do that by leveraging the community and the content and the brand that you've created for yourself. So remembering that when taking on work, they want to support you by like, but it sometimes has to be like the same like level playing field. So like not feeling like taken advantage of by a brand if it doesn't align. So, and like trying to like be on that like playing field, like aligning with brands that you believe in, that you use authentically again. And yeah, just like making sure they support you, but you also want to sell their product. Like that's exciting for you. You want somebody, to buy it and be excited about it.
Yeah. Thank you. And Violeta, I think like coming back to that and what you're doing, like pivoting your career from pro surfer into now like being kind of like you're still a surfer, free surfer, but full-time content creator. Like how was it to do that transition and to actually also working with brands, say, hey, I'm not going to compete anymore. Now I'm just going to do this.
So I think it's super important to be loyal to your values. No, like when you are loyal to your values and when it comes from the inside, you are good at it. So by the time I was a competitor, I wanted to be a competitor. I was motivated, and so brands wanted me for that because I was good at that in that moment because I was motivated. But then when I changed and like when I switched to free surfer, then I was so motivated creating content and more the creative part. And then brands wanted me for that. So I think when you are really motivated into something, you are good at it, and then you attract what is.
Right. And she left.
Bye. Come
Bye.
back.
Well, in the meantime, I see like we got a few more questions over here from everybody listening, and we got Jake who asked if you guys have any good tips when you're juggling multiple deadlines and don't feel like you have enough time in the day.
So good. I have to like I saw that come through and I was like, there's no time in this day too. No, it's so good. It's so good. No, I really, really believe in seasonal kind of work. And I'm not sure maybe you guys relate in terms of the season for your sport and the season for I mean I'm sure like skating, I'm sure that you can kind of do it anytime. But at the same time, I don't know, for surfing right now, it's like that winter season super, super important. And I feel like it's all of that time management and delegation of different tasks or different opportunities, and not being afraid to bring in another person for support. I really think that has helped not kind of I guess ease out burnout, because the burnout can be inevitable sometimes doing sport and then transitioning into kind of a non-competitive space and then doing a whole nother kind of level of deadlines and kind of I guess training or the workload. But I think that delegation, but also that seasonal of it. All right, I'm going to lock in for the next 2 weeks. We have this swell coming. It's all about collecting as much content as possible and then I've got that good week where I'm going to edit it all, put it together, and like trying to find those moments of inspiration in between. But it's heavy, and I think like I'm definitely at that space now where the teamwork is really, really important, and finding people to kind of be working together on projects. I find that so much more empowering, and it also connects with so many people who do have the same passions. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys too, how you guys do it, because I'm also all ears. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's been a lot. Like I feel like I've been able to balance skateboarding and photography a lot because sometimes I'm injured. It happens a lot, and when you're injured, you have so much time to do something else, basically. So whenever I'm injured, it goes up for my photography, which is nice to have something else to focus on. But I'm also pretty good at saying no, so I don't have too much on my hands. That's another way to not have too many deadlines, and really just take on what you really want. And send it on.
I'll piggyback on that. I mean, I'm just learning at the ripe age of 30 how to say no to things. I feel like when you get into this type of job, content creation especially, you're like, how is this my job? Like, I'm going to take everything that comes my way. But then it does become way too much. I'll say that for myself, at least. If you're saying yes to everything, you're kind of not even saying yes to yourself. So saying no more, charging more, doing less, and doing a better job at it. But again, this is like advice that I should be giving myself here, because I love taking on a lot, and it definitely a lot of the time feels like there's not enough times in the day. I have like, I'd say a quarterly breakdown. But yeah, I mean, it's fun to do it, to try to do it all. But at the end of the day, I'd say if you can say no to the things that don't feel 100% aligned and say yes with your full chest to the things that do, you'll be better at your job. You'll be a happier person. You'll be better for your friends and your family. And yeah, I should really watch this over when it's done, so I can remember these things.
Great. I don't know if anyone else have anything to add to that, Malou, or?
I think it's important to, like, even if it's like a super hectic period or like a day or a week, like for me, I have like some non-negotiables that I always do. I need to like be outside and do something fun every day and like move my body, because then even if I have a shit ton of stuff I need to do, like, I am not a doctor. I'm not saving someone's life. Like, it's okay if an email is 1 hour late, so I can go run at the beach, or I can go for surf, or I can go for a ski. I think that is super important. And then also not say yes to a million things, but I have not learned that yet. But maybe one day I will learn. But I think always, no matter what, take time in your day to do something that brings you joy and moves your body, and then maybe an email will be a day late, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's great advice. And we also got an interesting question from Jasmine, who's asking about how you kind of how you start like transitioning your career, if you want to, and how you keep your energy and motivation high when you maybe you are stuck in one position maybe, and you want to kind of start pursuing your passion. And I think maybe I can also say a few words there, because as John said in the beginning when he introduced me, I was working in the fashion industry. I was working in the surf industry before then COVID hit, and I went in and worked in the fashion industry for a few years. And I all the time knew that I wanted to go back and I wanted to work with sports again. And then suddenly I got the opportunity to do some freelance work with WSL. And then it kind of snowballed into me trying to get more gigs. I started working with Corona, doing some feature films, started traveling with the world tour with them. And it was I all did this in my holidays and my weekends. I then decided, I got picked up to do a TED Talk. I was training for my TED Talk. At the same time, I was doing all this freelance work, having a full-time job. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, I don't even know how I had time for that. But I think because I was so passionate about all those things, that I knew eventually I would have the confidence to quit my job and then go full in on what I was. But for me, I think it's this like starting small while you still have maybe a side gig, or you have a money coming in from somewhere, and then you can kind of start, suddenly you have the confidence, be like, okay, now I can go full in on this. I don't know what you think, maybe Hayden, that's something you also experienced with your business.
Yeah, I mean, I think being just like fueled by passion is really a beautiful thing. I think there's definitely a lot of sacrifice that's involved. Like you said, your holidays and your weekends. Like I feel that on like a deep level. It's just like your friends are all going to the lake and you're walking into a studio to film a class. It's just like what do you want your life to look like if you really want to get your product or your business or your passion out into the world? It kind of sometimes does take over your life. I don't want to like promote unhealthy habits, but if you really, really are passionate about something, it does kind of take charge and take the front step in your life. And sometimes you just have to make those sacrifices to, like live the life of your dreams or let that passion kind of like prevail. It's not always easy. I feel like I always have like ultimatums in my head. Like, do I really want to do this? Am I going to miss? I mean, I don't want to miss out on things. That's why I usually get a little bit overwhelmed and I take on too much. But I think definitely for the last 3 years specifically, like Pilates has been my passion. I want to get it out to the world. And a lot of the decisions that I make just come with my business being at the forefront. It's not always a good thing, but it's brought me to like the life of my dreams. So even when I was working my full-time job, like just making that time for myself every day, using my weekends and like whatever like scraps of money I could get together to hire out a branding agent, like things like that. But I just really felt passionate about it. So that passion just like fueling and like lighting the way, it's something you can't almost even control sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if anyone else want to jump in and say a few words about that.
I might jump in a little bit. It was so crazy. This last year we filmed and kind of did a whole independent feature film on women of Ecuador. And at the same time, I just remembered the same, like it definitely, was its whole, like, I guess, project that took years and years of work. But the month after filming, the month during filming, this specific documentary, we had all of these interviews and a crazy schedule. And, after 6 or 7 months of pre-production and then in-country logistics going crazy, I was also training for the ISA surfing games. It was the first time that I was representing Ecuador. I had just changed my nation from Australia to representing Ecuador. And the headspace to be able to kind of be in such different worlds, and I can only relate to that in terms of like working a full job that may have nothing to do with your passion, but it's like at the same time you like what is you, and knowing that this hard times of kind of wild hours or working a job that isn't actually your passion, knowing it is going to fuel your passion and it is going to support that dream, I think it makes it like worth it, in all kind of, taking time to look at all the different angles and stuff like that. But I really applaud so many people, especially growing up and doing the QS and knowing that these opportunities to compete and travel and to do surfing, it's not gonna,
Sorry, that was me.
What was that? I was like, wait, what? What's like happened here?
It's a crash in the dark room, sorry.
Oh no, you're crazy. Yeah, no, that was like about it. No. But I feel so inspired by people who completely, like a friend of mine was like working scaffolding and would go home and write like a whole album and just sit there and play music all night and then wake up and do scaffolding. and then go and write and be creative. And it's just like, you know, the whole time, every single mundane task, you know, it's something that's adding to your dream. And I think that's so inspiring and so beautiful. Yeah.
True. Well, amazing. I think we also had a question about, maybe this one could be a good one for you, Violeta, about when you go through like frustration in your career and in the as a content creator, and how you manage those feelings.
Well, first of all, sorry because before I lost the connection, but now I'm here again. So I think I would recommend to set goals. Like for me, setting goals is super important to keep motivated and to keep your focus into something. Like if you have a goal, then you wake up every day with a purpose and a motivation, and that would be my big advice. To in everything you do, put goals, and not like a really big goal. Yes, little goals, day by day, that all these little goals follows a big goal, no, that you are fighting for it. But to set up like little goals day by day that makes your motivation be there when you wake up, and to have a purpose on the day.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So it's also like making, so do you set like goals for your content like every day, that okay, do you make a schedule of what you need to shoot, or
Yeah, like for example, I do a list every Sunday, no, like before the Monday starts and before the week starts, I do a list with all the content I want to create this week. So like I'm organized and I know the goal of the day. And so I think to be organized in your work and in the content creation is really important to then achieve your goals. Yeah.
amazing. And maybe you can say a few words about that as well, Sarah, like being, yours is a bit different because it's the photography, but do you also sometimes get frustrated with yourself, or with, like finding the creativity or so on?
Yeah, I think there's with photography there's a lot, like I get frustrated because I have this like slow work that I want to work on that takes a long time, and it's nothing that I just don't want to put it out on Instagram for a couple of likes. Like it's like I want to make a book out of it, so it's not this like instant gratification. And that becomes like hard to motivate to work on, because you don't really see the end of it unless it's a really good idea to make a list and try to like divide it up to reach your final goal, because it might take 3 years to get there, but it's also important to show what you're doing in the meantime and to post. And it tends to be this thing where you take on maybe you get a job and then you take that job on because it gives you money, it gives you motivation, and that's always that's like part of the society that we're driven by. But it's important to work on even the things that doesn't give you money that you actually want to do. And I try to take that with me and work on that. And then with skating, it's kind of similar, because with skating, you're like, I skate for Nike, so I'm out maybe like usually we work on a project and then we film for this project for like a year or like half a year, and then I can't just put the stuff out on Instagram, but maybe on the same trip that I'm on, I could film a little clip for the phone and then put it on. So it's like, yeah, you can kind of get the little instant ones in the meantime as you're working on a bigger, something more meaningful. I guess I like to see, like I like to give value to the slower process of things.
Do you guys feel like that change of perspective as well? Like different, like when it's something's just like not working, not flowing, and then you just, lucky, we all have kind of sport and movement to kind of readjust it. But like doing a completely different project, do you guys ever like pick something up when something isn't flowing in one space and then like kind of do that little jump? Or is a bit more like load up more things on your plate, but like just that change of perspective or different idea or anything like that? Yeah,
I don't do that as much as I should. I think that's some really wise advice. Yeah, just kind of up and changing your perspective. I'm like the type of person who just goes like harder in the one thing that's just like not working. So
I guess dominant landscape. Yeah. For sure. No, it's so good.
Great. Well, we're just going to ask if there's anyone else out there who has any more questions. Otherwise, I'm going to probably ask the last questions. We've already been on for over an hour. Wow. Time flies. So if there's anyone who has the last question, please put it in the chat. Otherwise, one thing I would like to ask in the end is just like, what is, one short, concrete advice that you'd give to anyone who is trying to build a career that they're passionate about? I know you already gave great advice, but just to like kind of sum it down, if you could just say one thing that you'd be like, okay, this would be
For
great.
me, I would just recommend that believe in themselves and then be how do you say, be working day by day. Like you're not gonna have success in 1 month or in 1 week. Like day by day, believe in yourself, and then things will come. Like big things will arrive to you.
And be consistent.
Yeah, be consistent. That's it.
I think that's great advice. Yeah.
To piggyback on
I think in the ski world, if you want to work with sponsors and stuff, I think it's super important to like do a lot of outreach, make presentations about you with photos and like what you can bring to the brand, like what can you add, and send to all the brands you want to work with. You're probably not going to get responses. I got so many non-responses throughout my time, but you will hopefully at some point, if you present something good, get a response. And when you get an opportunity, like really show up, do a really good job, be nice, be an ad, go the extra mile, like really be an asset to whatever project you get to go on, because then you will be invited back. And word of mouth is like so huge in this like industry. So I think that is super important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say that like definitely like Violeta said, believe in yourself, but also have people surrounding you that supports you or believes in you, and like have people around you that are doing maybe the same thing or that are trying, that are struggling too. It really boosts you to have like other people around you trying to do it as well.
I'm going to piggyback off of Violeta and Sarah. I feel like having people around you who motivate you and who you can speak to openly about the things that you're passionate about and who don't like dim your light and who want to like help uplift you. Finding mentors is like super important. Even if you can just get on a chat with somebody who you look up to, ask them for a coffee, pay for the coffee. Like it's a small thing, but it does go a long way. I had a lunch 3 years ago that completely changed the course of my life. And the piece of advice that I got in that lunch was to just start where you are. Don't expect, like when I started, I taught my Pilates classes in a dance studio in a basement in Whistler. And I was like, oh, this isn't the aesthetic that I want. This isn't what, but at the end of the day, I wanted to get people moving. So I did the classes by donation. People came in, they moved. They didn't care about the space at all. They just wanted to move their bodies. And yeah, like when I started my online stuff, there's so many iterations of it that there's been, and it's just like starting, putting yourself out there. It can be like a walk phase, and then you can start to get into like a little bit higher of a pace, and then it can be a run, and then it can be a sprint. But if you're never starting, like, and there's always an excuse not to. I don't have the right equipment, I don't have this. Use your phone, use anything that you have, put things out on the internet, and if you're fueled by passion again, it will all come to fruition. And also like that compounding dedication to what you're passionate about, like it will prevail. I do really believe. I see people all the time who start Instagrams, and at the beginning people are like, oh, it's cringe, oh, they're not an influencer, and then lo and behold, a year later they're getting these big contracts, they're going on brand trips, they're having the best time of their life, and it's because they started and they didn't care what people were thinking about them. They just wanted to get it out into the world.
Yeah,
I
like this.
I saw them. Yeah.
Kind of have to like climb the cringe mountain to be cool, you know. It's like
I saw exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was like, I saw that photo, and I was like, there's like one ledge and the other ledge, and it's like that jump. Yeah, the cringe part. That's the like, oh gosh, yeah, no, you try. Yeah, I love that.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool when people are trying. I'm like, that's just cool. You like something, great. Like nobody's ever gonna. I hope not. People shouldn't shame you for that. And if they do, they're not your people, and you'll find the right people who.
Yeah, that's
and
exactly
I also what you said about like kind of finding the right people to be around. And one thing I always did and always said is like say your goals out loud, because I feel like when you say them out loud, there will be people supporting you, but you also feel like maybe have some kind of accountability towards yourself. And you're like, oh yeah, actually I said I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Oh, and I really feel like though, definitely taking that time to refine that purpose and to really keep checking in with yourself and make sure that you're not doing it for any, like that there's a greater reason, and that you're not doing it even just for yourself, that there's a bigger gift that you're, wanting to share, and that there's no kind of, I guess, like just really checking in with yourself that is something that you're going to commit your whole purpose to. I think that there's, we're so lucky to be, as a young female in the athlete world, but also into storytelling. There's, for myself, like I've been really lucky to be in this time of history, and that this success has happened, and I've been supported by so many different people and so many different amazing mentors. And so it's like, okay, we have this opportunity, and so it's like, okay, you get up on that stage and you want to just make sure your message is clear, your message is true to you, and it has that bigger purpose, and is supporting something that gives you so much joy and that just lights you up and hopefully lights up other people. And what's that gift to the world? What's your gift? And
Amazing. No, thank you everyone for joining. I think it was such a great chat, and I really enjoyed talking to you all. And thanks to everybody joining watching live. And I think this is also going to be available on DP Journey's YouTube channel, so you can also watch it after if you want. And so I just want to say thank you so much, and it was a pleasure talking to you all.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Such an honor.
Thank you,
You guys are
guys.
amazing.